Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with my monthly designer challenge video. The theme this month is Happy Easter or Spring. I've chosen a spring theme with a pretty bouquet and a sweet little rabbit. And I'm actually mashing up two of our die sets. So I'm using the coffee cup pop-up die set for the mechanism, but then decorating it with the pieces from the woven basket box card. And you can check out all of our die designs at karenburniston.com. I'll start first by making my woven basket. And for this technique, I'm only going to need one of the box sides pieces, and that's been scored up the middle, and there is a score next to the tapered tab. And then for the weaving, you always start with the piece that has the two spokes, and those spokes go underneath the first slat, and then they go over, then under, then over, then under, so that the ends of those spokes end up inside the basket. Now for adhesive, you can use anything you like. I happen to love my LINECO neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. We do sell both of those items on our website. So I just like to slide the piece up and out of the way to get my glue on, and then I slide it back down and into that glue, just making sure that the bottom and the sides are perfectly aligned. Now I switch to the other weaving strip, which just has the one spoke. It has a top that is meant to be folded in half. That way part of it goes on the outside of the basket, part of it goes on the inside. And then you take the spoke and you weave it through from the top of the basket, and this time it's going opposite to the ones that are already woven into the basket. Once I have that strip all the way in, then I can fold it back so that I can have access to the top of the basket to add some glue. Just add a bit of glue across the top, make sure that the sides and the fold are perfectly aligned, and then I can flip that piece over and add glue to the flap, and then just secure it right inside the basket. Okay, and now I am just going to repeat that process for the other side of the basket. So again, I start with the one that has the two spokes, weaving that in and securing it at the bottom, fold my T-piece top in half, weave opposite the other piece, add some glue at the top, and then secure the inside flap. Okay, setting that piece aside for a second, let me switch over to the coffee cup pop-up so that I can get the base for the pop-up. And that's this piece here, and I need to cut it twice. Now it's meant to look like a napkin, and so if you use the cool emboss feature on it, you can get some really cool ridges around the edges of that napkin. You can use any die cutting machine that can accommodate a wafer-thin die, and today I am using my new Spellbinders Platinum machine. Now to take advantage of that emboss feature, you need to put the paper back in the die again and then switch your machine to an embossing sandwich. For the Platinum, that sandwich is listed right on the platform, which is nice. Take the bottom cutting pad off, then the die goes face up on the platform with the paper in the die, then the tan squishy mat, and then the purple embossing plate. And then you just roll that through. And that embossing sandwich comes included with the Platinum machine. Okay, so I have my two halves of my napkin base. When those get put together, you can see they kind of create that square. And then now I need to add some tabs to my woven basket, so I'll use the coffee cup pop-up for that. I really just need a piece of cardstock that's big enough to get the tabs out. And then I'm just going to trim them to just basically make two little folding tabs. And then I want to glue my little tabs to the base of the woven basket so that they're right in the center. And I can do that pretty easily because I can see that weaving strip that's right up the middle of the basket, and I just use that as my guide. So I'm attaching one half of the tab inside the basket on both halves, and I can fold that in half to make sure that I've done a good job of getting them really right across from each other. And then I can use that tapered tab that's on the side of the basket to complete it. So you can see that I've essentially just turned the woven basket into a makeshift coffee cup pop-up. So it's got the tabs at the bottom. From here, assembly of this is going to be identical as if I were doing the coffee cup. I've just swapped it out for the woven basket. I just had to add the tabs myself. And what that assembly is sliding a tab through the slot that's on the napkin base. Make sure the ridges are all towards the outside. And then I just glue that tab down on the base of the napkin. And once that tab is secured, then I have one half of the basket attached. Then I just do the same thing with the other tab and the other napkin half. So again, sliding the tab through the slot, lift it up so that I can add a strong adhesive underneath it, and then just secure that tab down on the base of the napkin. I like the coffee cup pop-up because it is such a simple mechanism. And it's great now that you can have that added compatibility where you could swap it out for that woven basket. But the way this is going to work is it'll fold down flat like this, and that flat edge will go right in the fold of the card, and then as the card opens, it will stretch that basket open. I love it when pattern paper does a lot of the work for me, and this is a perfect example of that because this beautiful little scene over here is going to be perfect in my card. So just making sure that I preserved that bunny, I cut my card to 4 1/4 by 10 1/2, scored in the middle for folding. And then to attach the woven basket, I just need a strong adhesive on the base of the napkin halves. And then I'm just going to stretch it across that fold and get both halves placed down so that they come right up to the fold, but they don't cross it. So leave that little gap. It'll help there be room for that pop-up in the closed position. I decided to fussy cut out this floral scene from the leftover pattern paper because it'll work perfectly to fill in some of the blank spots on the inside of the card. And once again, just letting that pattern paper do a lot of the work for me. For the grass piece from the woven basket box card, I can trim away the tabs and a little bit of the grass as well, just so that it's a little bit narrower and it'll fit nicely inside there. And I am going to attach it to the back half of the basket, but only using adhesive in a line on both sides. And that way I'm not shellacking it to the back of the basket. That would really stiffen it up and then it wouldn't want to bend as nicely. So by just attaching it with 2 lines of glue on the sides, it'll just work nicely in there and it won't impede the opening of the basket. Okay, next up I put 4 spotty vines in the basket. So 3 across the back and then 1 in the front. And then for flowers, I went with only the smallest flower in the set, adding rhinestones in the center of each one, and then just attaching them to the spotty vine until I had a bouquet that I liked. I did have to make sure I was always checking that the flowers were staying within the card. I used our Spring Animals set to fashion a garden rabbit, and I wanted him to be wearing that blue cardigan, so what I did is I just cut another bunny out of the blue cardstock, and then just used my scissors to trim the pieces that would be needed to look like a cardigan. And then I'm going to use the glue only on the tip of the ear and on his foot, and that way I can attach that to the center of the woven basket so that he remains straight, so he doesn't bend with the basket. He's just going to have a little dimension to him because he will just kind of shoot out straight from the basket even as the basket curves. I tied a piece of ribbon into a bow, and then I'm going to attach that to the basket just using a glue dot. So I know I got this idea from Helen Cryer, although I can't remember which card it was, but I remember her taking the 2 halves of the napkin and then using a square in the middle over the top that would cover up the slots and make it look more like a greeting block. And then for the greeting, I chose our Happy Spring script die, and I'm making sure that a piece of the S and a piece of the G goes right across the seam of the napkin on the 2 sides so that it is mostly completely covered. It's only just that little itty bit by the G that's still visible. And then I just glued that at an angle to the base of my card and then cut off the excess. And that little bit of space that's below Happy Spring will be the perfect spot to sign the card. Then my last piece of decoration was just to sprinkle the 3 leftover flowers on the base of the card on the interior. Now, I did add a piece of pattern paper to the back of the card so that it would balance the weight of the one that I'm going to put on the front of the card, and I decided just for a simple lead-in, a pretty piece of pattern paper and a crepe bow. That's it. And that way all of that magic is on the inside of the card. My finished card measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/4 when folded. It will mail easily in an A2 envelope. My videos always come with a blog post, so you can check the description box below this YouTube video for a link to that blog post where you will find photos of this card as well as information about the supplies I used and links to all of the beautiful spring and Easter cards made by our very talented design team for this month's challenge. Thanks for watching. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com where you can find out information about purchasing these dies as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.